Okay, guys. So here, let me start sharing the screen and we'll start with call rights. All right. So call rights stands for collision avoidance regulations. There is also called ROR. ROR is rules of the road. And there is another name called IRPCS. That is International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea 1972. Why 1972? Because they were adopted and entered in force in 1977. Enforced. Okay. So the call rights as basically essentially they are the rules to avoid collision. Rules to avoid collision. And actually, since we are saying that rules, actually these are called conventions. Conventions means the rules which are mandatory to follow. Mandatory to follow. That means there is no escape. You need to follow. And these conventions are this is actually IMO convention like SOLAS, like MAPOL. So we are having these conventions. Now, the structure of call rights, there are A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so there are 6 parts. And this 6 parts is not enough. Plus, we are having some annexes. Annex 1, 2, 3, and 4. So part A, you know it very well. That's general. Part B is steering and sailing. Steering and sailing. Part C is about lights and shapes. Lights and shapes. Part D is about sound and light signal. All right. Part E is exemption and F is verification and compliance. Similarly, uh, Annex 1 is technical details of lights, positioning and technical details of lights. What lights? These lights. And then additional signal for fishing vessel. Then technical details of sound signal. And then distress. That is the structure of call rights. Now the very important part, that is part B, steering and sailing rule. Steering and sailing rules. You need to understand. So basically there are 3 sections. Section 1, section and 2. Section 1 is any condition of visibility. Any condition. Any condition of visibility, very important. And these are rule 4 to 10, applicable in any condition of visibility. Then we have insight of one another, insight of one another. So both these will make the rules of when you can see some object or inside of one another. Now, if you cannot see, that is section 1 plus section 3. Section 3 is in or near an area of restricted visibility. That means when you cannot see. So here what we realize that these rules are common. That is, any condition of visibility, rule 4 to 10 will remain common in all conditions of visibility. Okay, now here, this is the case of in sight of one another in or near an area of restricted visibility. That means suppose this is a vessel, there is another vessel. Now this vessel is in fog. Let me just depict. Suppose this vessel is in fog. This is in fog and this vessel is in clear visibility. Still rule 19 will be applicable. Why? Or we can say section 3 rule will be applicable because it says in or near an area of restricted visibility when you see the other vessel approaching fog. The second scenario is both the vessels are in fog. This vessel is in fog. This vessel is in fog. Fog is around. That time also will be applicable. So this is one case. Case A, this is case B. In both the cases, section 1 plus section 3 rule will be applicable. Now, section 1 rule, if you see carefully, section 1 rule, they are like stairs. First observe, that is rule number 5. Then you proceed, that is rule number 6. Then you determine risk of collision. That is rule number 7. Then you take action. That is rule number 8. So very, very sequential. It is like stairs. You need to go like this. By the way, 9 and 10 were added later on. So it is, these section 1 rule are in a very sequential order or logical order. Now we'll talk about head-on situation. And this situation is something like you need to understand. Suppose this vessel, you are the vessel here at the center. This is your beam. This is your right ahead. Let me just create this. This is 22.5 degree. Let me just create some sectors for you. So head on. Head on, that means if your ship is somewhere here, somewhere right ahead, that is head on. This is directly opposite to this. This is the head on situation. But head on, the rule says nearly head on is also applicable. Nearly head on. Nearly head on means if there is a side light 1 to 2, 3 degree. So 1 to 3 degree here, 1 to 3 degree here. This is the head on sector. This is what we can say that this is your head on sector. Okay. Now, what is the crossing? This is 22.5 degree above the beam, 22.5 degree above the beam. So this is your, I think, let me just draw this. Except the head-on sector, this side and this side, this is your crossing. So what is remaining here? This is the overtaking sector. All right, this is 135 degree. This will fall in the category of stern light. This is the category of stern light. All right. So you need to understand. Now we'll talk about head-on situation. Head-on situation is applicable to two power down vessel. By the way, if one vessel is sailing vessel, other vessel is, and you see, no, that is not applicable. If one vessel is fishing vessel, other vessel is pardon vessel, not applicable. So this is applicable to two pardon vessel only when they are on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal. Reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses. So what you have to do, say this vessel is here, this vessel is here, nearly reciprocal, this will alter to starboard, this will also alter to starboard, alter course to starboard, pass port to port, and both the vessels are responsible. Both vessel will take action. Both vessel will take action. Okay. Now coming back to the crossing situation. Okay. So the crossing situation, I think we should write here. Crossing is also applicable to two powered and vessel. So one vessel is here, another vessel is here, crossing the vessel which has the other on the starboard side. This is starboard side, this is port side, has to give out of the way like this. So this is your give way. This is a stand on vessel. Am I right? Or something's wrong with this? Yeah. This is a stand on vessel. A stand on vessel will maintain course and speed, and give way vessel shall alter course to starboard and avoid crossing ahead. Avoid crossing ahead. All right. So that's the crossing situation. And here, what stand-on vessel is supposed to do? Maintain course and speed. Maintain course and speed. And if this vessel is not taking action, then in doubt, sound at least 5 short and rapid blast. Or we have to do LD's lamp. Use LD's lamp in the night and daytime, at least 5 short and rapid blast. Let me just write here. Short and rapid blast. Before taking any action, this stand-on vessel needs to draw the attention of giveaway vessel that why you are not taking action. Now the last is overtaking. Overtaking. This is the rule which is applicable to all vessels. Okay, the rule says clearly any vessel overtaking another has to keep out of the way of the vessel being overtaken. All right. By the way, this is the rule which even start before risk of collision, even before risk of collision. The other two rules, that means this head-on and crossing, they start after risk of collision. If there is no risk of collision, no need. But this rule is the rule which start even before risk of collision, because the rule says clearly here, I think, any vessel overtaking another has to keep out of the way of the vessel being overtaken unless she is finally passed and clear. So overtaking, once overtaking, always overtaking. Remember this way, always overtaking. If you start overtaking, doesn't mean it will not make you a crossing vessel. Here is also overtaking. Here is also overtaking. Here is also overtaking. Here, this is not a head-on. Once overtaking, always overtaking. Remember that. So these are the rules which are applicable. Now, coming back to the responsibilities. Responsibilities between vessels. So far what we have studied, this is the encounter between two pardon vessel, except the overtaking, which is applicable to all types of vessel. But in case if the other types of vessel is there, then the pardon vessel has to keep clear of NUC, ram, fishing vessel, and sailing vessel. Similarly, sailing vessel has to keep clear of NUC, ram, and fishing vessel. And likewise, the fishing vessel has to keep clear of NUC and ram. That is what you need to understand about the responsibilities. By the way, if you are seaplane, that means you need to keep clear of all types of vessels. One second. All right. So we are talking about the seaplane. Seaplane has to keep clear of all vessels. There is one more catch. That is about CBD. And the CBD, any vessel other than NUC and RAM shall avoid impeding the safe passage of a CBD. So if it is a CBD, the any other vessel except NUC and RAM, other vessels shall avoid impeding the safe passage of a CBD. This is the responsibility you've given. Now we'll talk about Rule 19, that is conduct of vessel in any condition of visibility. So for that, what I will do, I will divide the quadrant into 4 parts. So that way, it will be much simpler for me to explain. So here, suppose there are 4 quadrants: quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, and your vessel is here. So conduct of vessel in restricted visibility. All right. This is applicable when 2 vessels are in sight of one another, are not in sight of one another. Not in sight of one another. All right. And when you are in or near an area of restricted visibility. All right. So what we have to do, keep your engine standby. Keep engine standby. First of all, you know it very well. When you are approaching restricted visibility, you got to inform in the engine room, keep your engine standby. Reduce the speed if you require. Reduce the speed and you need to proceed with safe speed. Now, here in restricted visibility, both vessels are give way vessel. There is no concept of stand on give way. Both the vessels are supposed to take action. And if you are observing things on the radar, Rule 19D is applicable. And Rule 19D, I'm summarizing like this. Suppose there is a target here in quadrant 1, then you are supposed to alter to starboard, remember. If you are having a target 2, again you are supposed to alter to starboard. If you are having a target 3, again you are supposed to alter to starboard. But suppose you are having target in quadrant number 4, you are not supposed to alter towards 4. You are supposed to alter away from this. Remember, I have done the color coding and you should be able to understand this. This is the summary. So if you are having target in for target 1, 2, and 3, you will go to starboard. And if you are having target in quadrant number 4, you will go to port. Away from that. Basically, rule is telling you to avoid turning into each other. Avoid, all the rules are telling you this. Avoid turning into each other. Don't turn towards the other vessel. Say, for example, here, suppose this is the scenario. This fellow is supposed to alter to starboard. This fellow is also supposed to alter to starboard. So there won't be this fulfilled. Now, in case of overtaking, slightly, this overtaking is different than the overtaking which was described earlier. So you can overtake from either side. That is not a problem. Okay. So this overtaking is different. Otherwise, these are the rules. So first of all, what you are supposed to do in ROR situation? First, identify Okay, after identification, you go to determine risk of collision. Now, identification, I already told you. You got to explain what is the type of vessel. Then you got to explain the length if there is indication of length. Then the status, if required, you can change the sequence if you want. Status, that means making way, stop, or underway. Underway includes everything, both, except vessel at anchor or aground. And last is aspect, whether it is seen head on or whether it is seen port side or starboard side. Now determine risk of collision. Take a series of compass bearing. Take a series. Take a series of compass bearing, visual bearing. That is the rule. And if the bearing is constant, range is decreasing, there is a risk of collision. Even if bearing is changing, if you are too close, as per rule number 7, there is a risk of collision. Once you have risk of collision, you take action. Action you need to take as per rule number 8 or as per applicable rule. Applicable rule, applicable situation. One is give way, one is stand on both are give way vessel, whatever, or one is a stand on vessel, you need to determine. Then what is the fog signal? Fog signal. So these chlorides, I need all these rules as per this sequence. So I hope that is clear. Now I'll show you just one example, and if this example, I think that should be good enough. So here, suppose this is the vessel. So let's identify. Let's identify. This is a fishing vessel other than trawler. All right. Length, there is no indication of the length here. It can be more than 50 meter, less than 50 meter. We have no idea. Callback does not specify, so no indication. Right. Seen and on. Seen and on. And on means right ahead. It has been seen right ahead. Okay. And if it is seen right ahead, then also it is making way. Any other special remark? Yes. The outlying gear. Outlying gear is extending 150 meter. All right. And this vessel is seen right ahead. So that means this is the vessel like this, and this is the vessel like this. Suppose you are OOW of a pardon vessel. So what kind of situation is that? First of all, you need to determine risk of collision. Determine risk of collision. I think that is pretty simple. You can see straightforward. Range is reducing and bearing is constant. Okay, if you want, you can take compass bearing. Otherwise, there is no need to take compass bearing. The vessel is right ahead. You see that it is always right ahead and your range is reducing. There is a risk of collision. Now you need to take action. Action. Can I take as per head-on situation? Head-on situation, rule number 14, absolutely no. Why? Because that head-on situation, rule number 14, is applicable to two pardon vessels. But these are not two pardon vessels. This is pardon vessel, this is fishing vessel other than trawler. So what rule will be applicable? Rule number 18, responsibilities. And the responsibility, the rule says the pardon vessel has to keep clear of fishing vessel. Now, how to keep clear? There is a gear here. What you have to do, one short blast. First of all, apply one short blast. One short blast, that is the sound signal you need to make. And alter course to starboard. Alter course to starboard. Pass well clear of this. Okay. That is the action you need to do. That is how we are supposed to do these situations.